when it comes to Valorant, like we're not leaving. It's not like we're not leaving. Like we didn't invest all of our time in running events for the last what, almost 2 years. Maybe is it 2 years now? I don't even know. We're not just gonna up and leave it. We've stayed in because we believe it has a, we like its future, where it's heading, even if things didn't work out.
Folks, we'll come back here to episode number 111 here of Valoranting, and I just realized, I was like, okay, is Garrett now the general manager of the Pittsburgh Knights on the show with us, and is he gonna try to speak anonymously because it's so dark in his?
Is my camera bad? What's going on here? Like, this is literally new. This is a new webcam, so I'm actually really annoyed right now.
It's okay. I mean, it looks crisp. We could definitely see how
was
light
I supposed to download
is.
a driver? Because I did not.
No, I could actually see the leaves in the back, so it's actually a good camera. You do have that precision out of that, but I think what's missing is the camera and the lighting in front of you. So it's not the camera's fault. It's more on you being a noob of not knowing how lighting works.
No, that's, I want to blame that on Pittsburgh in America, because I'm in an apartment that has no lighting. So literally my whole apartment, I have 2 lamps from IKEA.
Well, you should put that in front of your face, which is why Tanner's lit up.
It's close as it could be. Like if I just did this, like come on, like,
lean it over, lean it over on the
desk safely. That's all.
Right,
nope, that didn't help either. Jesus.
Garrett's blaming America for not enough lighting in his house, and he's a Canadian, by the way. So
sorry.
Yeah, we'll just put that in. Garrett, thanks so much for coming on the show, brother.
But on the feed, it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful.
On the feed, it looks nice. On the feed, it looks nice. But you're still dark. It's okay.
I'll have to make.
You should have added a voice changer or something like that while you're on top of it. But Garrett, let's get into it. We don't have too much time with you because I know you have a really, really busy schedule. So once again, thank you so much for your time for hanging out with us here on Valoranting. And let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Knight. Let's talk about Valorant with Pittsburgh Knight, your involvement with it, of course. And starting things off is asking what was Valorant like for you guys when it first came out? Because for me, when Valorant first came out, and I'm thinking about the Pittsburgh Knights, you were one of the first putting out like a tournament for during the beta days, and I was able to cast that for like a 14-hour day. So what intrigued Pittsburgh Knights?
Lower your rate to do that for us. We really appreciate it.
There you go. Anything for a friend. But
I also want to say, any gig you've gotten now, you can. Thank you. You're welcome. We got you in. So
thanks, Garrett. Okay, Garrett. Thank you. But initial reactions actually of Valorant from the Pittsburgh Knights perspective, from a business perspective, what enticed you guys from wanting to get into this?
Well, honestly, it's very, at least in my opinion, everyone has their own opinions, but I felt like when it came to new titles and new games, it's not often a new game comes out, and at least one that has a lot of hype. Like I'm just trying to think back. Like I'm probably gonna miss some because there are some games I just I don't care about.
Yeah.
But like there's Valorant, like Apex was huge when it came out. Halo had a big jump on it, but then outside of those, I'm drawing blanks. I don't know what else has come out that's like really grabbed my interest in terms of like an esport that could potentially be something significant.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the interest really, because obviously our background, like obviously myself, the owner, our events guy Jasper, like we all came from Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's our baby. I mean, we love it. It's where everything started for us. So we saw another game come in that could like quote unquote like challenge Counter-Strike at the time, which no one thought would even be a possibility, because Counter-Strike just ran the show for what, over 2 decades.
Of course.
That it was interesting, and giving something new, something fresh to the genre was something that we were interested in, because obviously you had games like Overwatch, which like I just never could get into, but it has abilities, and like it made sense. But then bringing that to Counter-Strike, I was like, oh, okay, well this is kind of different, so let's go with something new. So that got us in behind it, and we just kept a close eye on it and see like will this game live past its initial launch, which a lot of games, as we see in the past, can have a launch and it takes off and it's huge and everyone loves it, but then 4 months, 5 months, maybe a little less than a year, it just dies off, because it's like those games like Fall Guys and stuff like that. It comes out for a little bit, it's fun, and then it just like whatever, and then you come back once in a while when you're bored. And a lot of games that come out are like that, and it's very hard to find one that lasts a long time or has the potential. And so we kept a close eye on it. We thought maybe this could be one of those games that has a long-term future, especially behind a developer that has already seen success in other titles, and their plans of having, a fighting game. They have their card games. They have like
Mhm.
all their envisions of all the other titles they want to build. Like, this is something we want to monitor. So
Mhm.
that was the reason why we got involved in the first place, and also we want to build a relationship with Riot. So we just went with it. And then obviously it had a massive launch. Having people doing co-streaming of their event, and like it was just of their event. And also, let's just call it this: COVID helped.
Right.
Everyone being at home is very, it was very convenient at the time for them. It's
Mhm.
obviously
Mhm.
terrible. I'm not saying COVID is convenient, but it definitely helped with the launch because all the
Mhm.
gamers at home and we needed something to do, and it was fun. Honestly, it came down to the game just being fun. We
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
did we really did enjoy it. It was something new.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and
And also,
so
our boy Volcano helped make it. So of course, like
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Of
anything
course.
he's involved in, I'm like, I'm listening.
We were just talking about it overall, actually, before Garrett came on here, chat, is that because I was doing introductions with Tanner and with Garrett, and
Mhm.
Garrett's a longtime friend of mine because I used to cast Garrett when he was a pro Counter-Strike 1.6 player for Evil Geniuses, and also was a pro gamer for Counter-Strike Source in like 2006, 2007, 2008 during the Championship Gaming Series franchise. If you guys don't know about that, you don't want to know about it anymore. It was pretty shit. But
We had
that
to do
said,
it,
like, exactly, and Volcano, which is like the lead designer here for maps and levels here for Valorant, was also a pro Counter Strike 1.6 player, and even 1.5 back then, and it was part of like Team 3D. And
and made
if you
cash in Counter Strike.
exactly, if you actually wanted to become pro in some way, shape, or form in Counter Strike back then, you were hoping to be part of Team 3D because even their tier 1 salaries doesn't match into like any of the tier 3 salaries that we currently get today in 2022. But it was nice aspirations for us boomers back then. So.
Dude, we got a couple $100 back then. We felt we were gods.
We're not flipping burgers. We got
My
$100.
my my first our I was a part. I think it was only 3 teams that got paid salary back in the day, and I was part of one of them. And my first checks were $900 a month, and that was like, you're a king at that point. I moved to Montreal. I completely left my city, got an apartment, had more than enough money. Like, that was the first time. So obviously things have completely changed. Where like, if you offer someone that now, they're telling you to f off.
okay, so I'm gonna reel it back in. I say our, but your age is showing, and we gotta Valorant is the game for the Zoomers, not the Boomers, and we want everybody like us here.
Exactly.
The Knights, you guys are like one of very few teams who are kind of working, not only got into Valorant early, but then kind of picked up this academy team and have and been kind of, working through two teams for a while. I believe now just the academy squad, but what is that, kind of how are those decisions made, right? Where you're not only investing into a main roster for some time, but now you're looking to pick up another roster. You're seeing these players. You're investing in an academy team. What was it about Valorant that kind of made you guys do that, and how were some of those decisions made to really, I mean, put a little extra into something?
Well, I like to wing it, so half the time I make these decisions and there's no action. No, I'm kidding. We
Oh my god. Good
it's
old
I
Garrett.
know. Imagine if that was the case. Oh gosh. No, we honestly it came down to we're a smaller org with strong backing. We were looking for the next title that we would want to invest in, that we could see a potential future in with the Knights long term. And if you look through our history, we've been in a bunch of games and working with developers and
Mhm.
their esports program. The truth is, I'm not saying none of them are perfect. It's I would love to see one, but I don't even know what perfect looks like because it's so all over the place. And we're still in this like developmental stage of esports in the first place. That when like through our experience with these other games, we just noticed that a lot of them are just you know the cons are significantly like way higher than the pros. So we get out of them as soon as we can, that we see it doesn't make sense. And then with Valorant, again, we saw a long-term future in terms of like we thought the game could be very successful in its own right on its own. And then we also we found a game that we believe, we started running events in, as you mentioned before, Alex, where
Yeah.
it was an interesting time because when COVID came out, every company was like, in tats of like what to do. And our first thought was, well, everyone's at home. We don't know how long this is going to last. Why don't we just improvise? And we're like, why don't we just shift to like becoming, you know, a, a TO for a lot of games as well, on top of having teams and creators and so on, to basically another option of us to another thing we can bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not just, because we don't have the biggest following in terms of like Twitter or Instagram or whatever. So why don't we serve the community in other ways? So we started running events, and Valorant with events right up from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
was amazing. And as much as I love Counter Strike, if we run an event in Counter Strike for we ran one for like I think it was $10,000. We barely had people signing up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, because they're spoiled. They're spoiled in Counter Strike because they have all, like, you have ESC, you have the leagues, you have all the majors. There's a million events all the time. It's just there's so much going on that if you try to go in there and run some smaller events, you see people on Twitter struggling to find signups for it. It's we so With Valorant, it was just, the fan base was incredible from the beginning, so we just kept rolling with it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we weren't planning on having a team at the beginning because, in the life cycle of a game, the first year is kind of like we like to watch normally and see, like, are are they going to invest into it, like the developer, and see where they can go. Um, well, the Valorant is like we waited a little bit, like it was only like maybe 6 months, eight
Yeah.
months, and it was like, then we decided to pick up a team and go for it. And then eventually we just decided that, like, we're in a bunch of, tier two, tier three games. Rocket League, I believe, is tier one, so we are in one tier one game. We were looking for what's another title we can get into that we believe can really, have the potential of being a tier one game, and
Mm-hmm.
Valorant was that answer. We didn't think, I don't want to shade other games. We didn't think Apex was going to be that. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
think, like, I don't want to shade out all the other games, but like we thought they were good games, but they weren't in the competitive
Promising
aspect
for you guys.
what we were looking for. No,
Mm-hmm.
they were
Mm-hmm.
more influencer heavy, I would say. That
Mm-hmm.
we decided not to go that route because it just wasn't for us at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we picked up the team and we decided, we don't know what the future is going to lie in Valorant and what their plans are, because, like, again, no one did until, you know X amount of time ago, that we decided, whatever it is, we've been having a nice working relationship with Riot, with events, and just our communication has been very positive and significant. And that meant a lot to us because if you've talked to other developers, I'm telling you, it is trash.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, and it's just they're hard to work with. They're hard to talk to. They don't provide any, like, feedback, or emails take months to respond to, and it's just that's not what we want. And they were very interactive, and we're like, all right, let's go for this. And whatever the plans in the future, we could try for it. And if not, then if we don't get it, then it's still a fun game. We love it, so we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
keep rolling with it. So that's the reason why we started to invest more heavily into it, and we saw a future, and we need we need another tier one game to go for, and we believe that Valorant is on that path.
Yeah. Okay, so then to summarize it a bit too is like it took you guys a little bit of time before you picked up a team. I'm
Yep.
assuming at this point when you picked up a team in November of like 2020 was
Yep.
probably after all the Ignition series. And I'm assuming when you're saying you have a lot of involvement with Riot was that you had conversations with Riot when you were starting to put these events together. So you kind of like put two and two together to say, okay, Ignition series, they're kind of big. There's a lot of teams. There's a lot of viewership. On top of that, there's good implication of Riot within the scene in itself when you even want to run these smaller tournaments.
Yeah.
Is the way to understand it. So then you see the future in that. You want to invest in that.
Yeah. Like, honestly, it narrows down to, it's as simple as communication.
Yeah. Okay.
If you communicate, or a lot of orgs will be willing to go and invest a lot more into the scene. But if you
Okay.
don't, then why am I bothering?
Okay. So let's fast forward into this a bit now then, because now you have your team that came in together. I mean, you picked up a great roster. You've went through a couple of changes until you finally made the impact, and then the Knights made it into stage one of the VCTs going into the year. But then closing in towards the end of 2021, was there already some sort of like indication or inkling or conversation within Riot that a partnership program was coming in 2023?
It wasn't. There was no words I would say that like saying that this is like XYZ is coming. It was just again it was the feeling of we know something's going to come down the future. We just didn't know what format, what it would look like, what it was,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
we knew there was something, and we decided to invest more into our teams and try to make them as best we can and try to go for it. So that's
Hmm.
what happened. So when we finalized our team, like we went through a period of probably 8 to 10 months where we very slowly and selectively picked our players over time because we weren't rushing the decisions. We wanted to find players that could potentially be long-term answers, and we finalized a team what on in January basically that we the goal was just to make it as best we can, and we went into what the playoffs in the first stage. It was very successful, and then we just kept investing, kept going. We had the academy team, and working with them, and trying to build
Hmm.
them up so that if we did, get into the future, whatever it was at that moment, we didn't know what it was. If we got into the future, that we had a healthy system to
Hmm.
succeed in it, and whatever they decide to go with.
Okay.
So I want to actually talk about that academy team outlook a little bit. Is
Mhm.
that something? Obviously, I feel like, and maybe I'm the only one that does this, so I'm projecting. But comparing esports to traditional sports, right, where you kind of have like these farm leagues and you're bringing up these players versus exporting, which we see, or importing, excuse me, which we see a lot in esports. Was the idea for academy kind of almost solely or strictly leaning into, okay, well, it probably may well look like League of Legends in the future, where we have a main team in it, we have an academy team in it, so we want to have those? Or is that kind of an idea or an ideal that Knights have to say we want to have this kind of homegrown talent, right? We want to bring players into our organization, work them up the way that we want, and then once they reach that level, we can pick them from our academy team and bring them into our main team. Was it kind of like a structural thing with partner program franchising, or is there like a lot of heart in the bringing players up type?
It's a mixture because myself and James, the James the owner, like again,
Mhm.
we came from Counter Strike, so one thing that we both had in common was he loved the training of players and scouting and bringing them up and like to become better, and I did the same thing, but basically the Canadian version of it. And we always enjoyed developing players, so that when it came to Valorant, and it's always been a passion of ours, so that we always thought about doing it, but then once we made that decision to really fully invest a significant amount of money more into the scene, into our main team, it's just makes business sense in order to have an academy team that can funnel into your main team in case there's any issues,
Mhm.
whether it's performance or personality or whatever it is. Because a lot of teams in esports, you can support them as best you can, but they can be unstable.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
unfortunately, a dark side of the business is there's a lot of poaching, and when teams come approach your players to want to pick them up, it causes rifts in the team. And we felt like, well, we should have an academy team where we're developing these players so that their goal is to be a pro player on a top team, so that they have the hunger and the thirst to want to grow, and that when they hit that point where they're ready, if there's a player that might be causing issues or not getting along with the team or performance, we have the option to. Oh, that's not updated, boys. We have the option to bring them up to the main team when necessary, and we did that. Like there are some academy teams in other sports, other esports, that they have them, and a lot of the time it's just for show. They
Mhm.
don't really develop them. They don't put much into it, and then there's no real opportunity for them to move up.
Hmm.
And our academy team, I told them from the beginning, if you're ready, you will be moved up. So
Hmm.
the deal that I had with them was, if you're on the academy team and let's say a top team approached them to pick them up, that wasn't us. We had to make the decision if they're if they can't replace a player on our main team at that moment, we would look to do as best we can to move them on to the other pro team for their opportunity.
Hmm.
We felt that the success of the academy wasn't necessarily moving players up to our team, but just graduating them to another team as well, which you know might not be the smartest move, but we thought if we could show success in that, that more players be willing to go through the system and want to play for the Knights overall. And we had Scuba, who, like, let's call it what it is. He was on KCP before. I feel like they made a huge mistake in letting him go. And we picked him up for our academy team, and it took us like a month, and we were like, "What is this kid doing here?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then we moved him up to the main team immediately.
Mm.
And then there's a couple guys on the team now where, like, obviously everyone knows we put our players, on the market, but like they were, if I'm being realistic, I would probably say a month or 2 months away from like really pushing to move move into a spot on the main team because they've been very impressive. So it was a side of we wanted to develop players, Tanner, and then also we need to protect our investments so that if we got into whatever was the future of Valorant, that we had a pipeline ready, so that we were secure, so that if a player had to leave or cause problems, there wouldn't be any downtime. Because if you lose a player, let's say Ziff, our player, like hated us and wanted to leave, and we sold him to V1, then that's what? How many weeks of tryouts, then bringing the
Right.
players back up to speed. It's just a huge loss of investment that people don't think about money wise. It's like, oh yeah, we might have got $200,000 in the buyout for Ziff, but we just lost 150K in salaries of trying to get things back to where they were. It makes no sense. So I didn't want to do that, and we wanted to make sure we had a pipeline ready to fill in the gaps when needed, if we needed them. Hopefully, that never would have to be the case, but in esports, from my experience, it's finicky.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting angle, actually, to look at how your investment is trying to go from like the building the academy team of, trying to protect some sort of like cash flow to make sure that you can invest into a main team. But what happens in that case, even for somebody in your main team that wants to move into another team or whatnot that has potential as a buyout and stuff like that too? What are those considerations in order to say this is a right move for us to move, for example, Scuba, if he wanted to join a different team or not? Is it the same type of like train of thought?
Yeah, it makes it easier. Like, I'm putting hypotheticals. It's not real things here, but like
Okay,
I'm gonna stay with Ziff because we were talking about him.
hmm
Ziff. Well, he's probably a terrible example because he plays every role. So I'll make his I'll make it simpler. Ban. He's the duelist. Okay.
okay.
If Ban wants to leave and is causing issues or whatever it may be, and our academy player who's a duelist at that moment is like close or like reasonably close to replace him, or like fill in the gap if he was to leave, then I consider it.
hmm
But if Ban is like wants to go and the academy player is not there, and then there's no one available in the market that can reasonably replace that player to have us perform at a similar level, if not better, then all it does is hurt us, and it's not fair to the other four guys and the coach that I actively make the team worse
hmm
when they've been working, playing 8 to 10 hours a day as a unit and trying to improve. It's just not fair to them.
hmm
So if someone's available and ready to move in and we deem it's the right move, then we do it. But if they're not ready on the academy team, then it's more of a judgment call at that point.
hmm
But we felt the academies are meant for that, and you see a lot of academy teams; these players have no chance to move up, and it's like it's at that point I don't I get why they do it, but it's if they have no realistic chance, and I'm kind of confused honestly. What's
Yeah.
the point?
hmm
Um, so those ones are iffy, but we felt that we recruited players that we had it was high risk, high reward, where they have a high ceiling if they hit everything they need to hit,
hmm
but they also can, you know, not develop and crash and burn. It
Yeah.
was
No,
it was,
understandable.
but we wanted to take those gambles, and the guys we have now that are on our team now, like these guys are some issues for other teams. So we're like
hmm
they were pushing for a spot until everything, you know, happened.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about everything that's happened in the
Segue right
past
there
few
for you.
weeks. Yeah, no, it's a perfect segue because I actually want to get into it because you're a busy man, Garrett, and you talk a lot, but I love the information
I'm
that you
sorry.
give. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you all the time. You know me, Garrett. But no, it's actually very important to get into this segue and to clarify and to clear the air a little bit of what's going on with this partnership program. So let's get into painting a clear understanding of what's going on between the organizations applying here into this partnership program, the differences into what is offered by Riot in this program versus, let's say, franchising in Overwatch League. And I also want to make sure that you don't give away stuff that's like part of like an NDA or something like that too, Garrett. So I know you're
I
you're
won't.
smiling.
Don't
That's
worry.
why I'm talking a lot, so you have a chance to like think it through and then let me know like what are the clarifications and what are the clear guidelines that separates this partnership program from Riot versus a regular franchising system here that we currently know with, for example, Overwatch League.
Well, the only thing I really comment on like the stuff that's just basically already out there. That's like that's been
Well, make it
reported
clear
on.
for us because people are just reading like the first lines of like articles, not really understanding what's going on. And then now, if you're looking at the past few weeks with like 8 to 10 organizations saying, "Hey, we're stepping away from the Valorant Partner Program," everybody thinks that the Tier 2 scene is dead, or everybody thinks that we're going into franchising. So, what is different versus what we know of franchising?
Well, franchising in general, again, there's a lot of opinions around it. It's with Overwatch and with Call of Duty, and like I appreciate their ambition of what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they got, let's just call it as they got screwed by again COVID, like just
Yeah.
brutal timing. But at the same time, like that's a hefty paycheck to get involved in, and the risk for that is incredible.
Yeah.
Whereas, in this program, they having the no buy-in portion of it and just being partners with the developer. It's more about being partners with the developer than necessarily like the franchise system, which is just you own this, and like you're just I don't know, I don't want to talk about franchising. I don't like it. Never really have until like the esports needs to evolve before that becomes
Yeah.
something that I even be interested in. But like if you looked at League of Legends, I'll tell you what I saw at least in League of Legends. You saw what they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
It's
but let's explain it a little bit. What did they do? They had to pay $20 million or whatever is that cost to
I don't.
buy a
It wasn't
spot
that
in the
much.
league.
It wasn't
Yeah.
that much from what I was told. I don't. I
Okay.
don't know. I want to make this clear. I
Okay.
could be full of bullshit here. I don't know.
Mhm.
Whatever they paid at the beginning, I was people applied for it, and it was something. It was new. The game's massive. It's huge.
Mhm.
That everyone went for, and they made the closed league and so on. And it was successful. The teams that were in it were very happy. The majority of them are still. I don't know the majority, but like a significant amount of them are still in the title.
Mhm.
And the game is just wildly popular. And when you see something like that be from the outside looking in, successful in comparison to a lot of these other partnerships and other games, which are not successful at all and
Mhm.
are pretty bad, that you believe that if something's gonna, like, if you were to bet, if I'm gonna bet on something working out, I'm gonna
Mhm.
bet on Riot and Valorant, then I'm gonna bet
Mhm.
on whatever game you want to talk about.
So
I'll
why
make
is
that
that? What
they've
is
shown
Riot
they've shown
giving?
they've shown some success. The teams that have been
Mhm.
in League of Legends, when I'm talking to them, they've been happy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And their
Okay.
brands have grown, and it's again, nothing's perfect, but the
Mhm.
teams have been in it's been successful. It's still a massive esport. It's been around for X amount of years now, and it's still doing very well. I love it myself. I'm a fan of it. So when I see that success, I'm like, if another developer, if they can do this again, hopefully, but elevate it, because when they did this, what, I don't even know how many years ago, 8,
Mhm.
something like that. When they did it 8 years ago, they've learned. Publishers and developers learn from mistakes. So like when they did it XYZ way, now they've learned, and so when they do something new in Valorant, they're gonna apply what they've learned and what
Mhm.
succeeded and what didn't, and try to narrow it off. And we believe that's a gamble for us to worth take. Whereas some developers that come in and they pitch you their idea, and you're like, this isn't gonna work. But you do it because the game has potential to be successful, but you're quicker to leave
Mhm.
when you're like, all right, they don't know what they're doing. And then again, like I said before, the communication, everything about the game just seemed like if there was a bet to make on a game doing well and working with a publisher in a partnership, it would be them. So that's what we felt about it. And it's you know
So did it look promising? So when you're
yes,
when you're
absolutely,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
And then when you say about the tier 2 scene and so on, like obviously teams are leaving the game, and I can't speak on their intentions.
Mhm.
Ours could change. I can say what I feel right now and what I know to be true at
Mhm.
this moment, but business is business, and things can change at any moment. Where when it comes to Valorant, like we're not leaving. it's not like we're not leaving. Like we didn't invest all of our time in running events for the last what, almost 2 years. Maybe is it 2 years now? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 2020. We were
running
still
events.
casting beta stuff, so.
Yeah, when we're running events that long and supporting our team and the efforts we're putting into the game, we're not just going to up and leave it. We've stayed in because we believe it has we like its future, where it's heading. Even if things didn't work out, we still want to see where this is going to go. And we're still going to invest in the community.
Mhm.
So other orgs and stuff, they left when they didn't get in, which is their right. I have no issue with it. That's what they want to do. Um, and how they left might have been a little iffy, some of them,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
the we believe to stay in the game. We believe in the game, and we're going to continue to run events. We're going to have our team. We're going to try to do like as best we can the level below the international league, whatever that format is going to be. We have no idea, obviously, like everyone else.
Mhm.
Um, but again, the relationship with the developer makes us believe that it's worth staying in.
Mhm.
And obviously with the main team and what we had decided to do with them, we did have to be smart about some costs, and we're trying to find them the homes where they can be into the international league because we want them to get there. But we had to make some unfortunate decisions and focus on the quote unquote academy team now,
Mhm.
and try to build them up to win the level below.
Mhm. Which you don't know what the details are in this level below yet.
No, we
Interesting.
don't. We don't. But the if you see on Twitter the uproar and all that stuff,
Mhm.
I believe, like, obviously, like, the way some people are handling it could be done better, but I believe the uproar actually might be potentially helping
Mhm.
because, whatever plan they did have, they might be reconsidering it and make it better maybe.
Mhm.
But there will be teams that will be staying, and then the other ones will be leaving because you know, it costs a lot of money to own a team, and a big part of that is because of certain organizations just ruining the ecosystem and how much they put into it, and the um, unrealistic expectations for some salaries in the scene where it's just not sustainable. So some orgs had to leave and do what's best for them, or else they're going to go broke.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I don't blame them for leaving, but we're going to be one of those teams to stay.
Mhm.
I want to ask a question, but if your answer is not
I
applicable
can't
or
wait. Let's hear it.
NDA, then I'm coming back to you with another one. But are you able to speak to kind of any of the interactions about like with Knights and Riot and the partnership program? And it's pretty general as to what we know that they are looking for in teams that they're allowing into this partnership program. Are you able to kind of give us maybe a bit of clarity on what they
No,
are looking for?
no, not that I won't answer that. There isn't clarity in that sense. Um, Everyone has their beliefs on what they're looking for
Mhm.
and what they would want, and we had our beliefs on what they were looking for, and we built our strategy around that.
Mm,
Whether we were right or wrong, that so be it. But like we went down our path, and we thought that was our best chance to, again, we didn't know about their partnership plans at all like a year and a half ago, but we believe that when the time came for anything more significant, what is the value the Knights can bring to Valorant?
Mhm.
mm,
And our idea of our value as a company was we want to fill the gaps that all the top organizations don't give a crap about, which is the tier 2 and tier 3 scene and the support
right.
overall of the game. Because most organizations, again, take it for whatever you want to call it, but like I call them Twitter orgs, where they have a team, they pay them, they tweet when the matches, that's it. Like
Mhm.
that's the extent. And they don't really do anything for the actual scene. And we wanted to be, as corny as this may sound, this was not planned, like the org for the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we're like, let's support the scene with more events, more accessible events for anyone to play in, and we wanted to be to lift up the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 scene, whatever it is, to help give those players more access to play in events where they could aspire to want to become pros and climb the ladder and do whatever they need to do to become a top player in the game. And if we believe we did that, we support the scene with our teams that we're doing and everything else, that would give us the best chance to be in a future partnership, whatever it was when we
Mhm.
went down that path. So that
Mm,
was our strategy behind it, and didn't work. but but we still believe that's was our putting our best foot forward and trying to be something more than just an org that has a team.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
that's
think
not.
you guys are the people's org, for what it's
Well,
worth. You
thank you.
guys are the people's org for sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was the idea behind it, really. But you know, we're gonna keep going down that route, and we've been doing events in other games as well. It's not just Valorant. We try to run events and titles we believe has a connection with us and where we believe that title can go through in the future. One of them being Rocket League. Rocket League is an amazing game. It's a tier 1 game by all metrics. And we believe, like, doing the same thing we're doing in Valorant and Rocket League is our plan. So we're going to support the scenes in other ways and other orgs don't, and try to fill in the gaps where these top organizations don't.
Now, I still feel like I haven't got enough clarification of what we have between. No, but I think it's more of like, because we're all still running through assumptions, and I feel like with what you've been explaining so far of like what happens in a tier 2 scene, what's going in the partnership program, there's still assumptions going on from even the orgs applying so far as to what's going to be in store here for 2023. So, the main guideline or the main line that I see here when you're explaining this partnership program versus the franchising is that franchising, you have to pay X million or X amount of money to get into a franchise closed system. Now that you have a partnership program, you don't own anything in terms of potential like locked in equity with Riot in the partnership program. So do you think that at this point there's a possibility of like relegation and stuff like that too? So what would be like, if there is relegation, where let's say, for example, in a perfect world, you guys made it into the partnership program, or in 2023, suddenly, unfortunately, you don't have the best season, and you have a potential of being relegated down. Is this like even a gamble or an investment that you want to be a part of, knowing that you have potentially the possibility of getting demoted into a season? So do you want to be part of a partnership program, or do you prefer a franchising system as an org's perspective?
That is a question that it's funny how that's flip-flopped like crazy in the last few years. Because, we went for Call of Duty's franchise back in the day, and we got to the finish line and then we pulled out. And it's like at the moment, it seemed like clear as day, this is what you should do. Like, we've never had any ownership in anything, we should do this. And then thank God we didn't. And then we've been a part of just partnerships where it's been very successful and very beneficial. And then we've been a part of another partnership where it's like a hybrid. So we've had experience with all of them. And the truth is, there's no perfect answer for any of it. It's I don't prefer one more than the other, but there's, I guess, the details of each one is what matters. Where if like, if the franchise is a $35 million league to get into, that's a huge con.
Of course,
that's a huge con. If the franchise league is 10 million, like I'll make something up for you. If this Valorant partnership was a $10 million franchise, I'm making it up, and we like that's nothing. Of course, we would do it in a heartbeat. That's not a problem. That's not an issue. If the came to us with 40 million, I wouldn't. That's a little more of a question. So it's kind of like it's in the air. I don't have a great answer for you on that one, Alex. Just it depends on who they. Honestly, it's not as wishy-washy as this possibly can be. It's dependent on who they are.
Yeah.
It's like, what have they done in the past has been successful? Is there a past? And have they failed in the past? It's like, and I'm honestly like going off a tangent now. I'm forgetting what your damn question was, Alex. So,
if
you want to know more details, I'll say this:
and you're trying to balance out like the franchising versus the partnership program. Which one would you prefer? I guess in that sense, because a partnership program for me gives the impression that there might be a relegation, and people who actually get into franchising want to get into it because you guarantee exposure of the organization, of the team for guaranteed X amount of years or whatever. Whereas if you're demoted, then you're going back into a system where potentially you get broadcasted once a week. You get broadcasted not at all because it's open qualifiers.
Don't mind me. That was the beginning. That was the beginning of Valorant. That was.
So you see where I'm coming from. So then,
that was the hardest thing about being in Valorant in the beginning was the the fact that we didn't have a top team in the beginning, and like I believe it literally took us 6 months to be on. Like we're in
Yeah.
one match on a stream on like Nerd Street's like C stream.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
moments in
Window
Valorant where like,
casters.
yeah, there was moments in Valorant where we're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
then honestly they got together and they fixed it. But
Yeah.
if I had to choose between franchising and partnership, I take partnership. And right now, any day of the week, because franchising is too risky, and quite frankly, I don't believe any of them know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a bunch of non-endemic people just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, but
Yeah.
using our money.
Yeah.
So no, like I'll wait. You saw Call of Duty and Overwatch.
Mhm.
I'm not. I can say whatever I want with that because I have no intention of being in those leagues. But
Mhm.
it's been a shit show, and I'm very happy we have not been a part of it.
Yeah.
And until we see someone do that truly successfully, I'm gonna be weary. But at
Yeah.
least with like Riot and League of Legends, I don't know if you even call it franchising. I think it's franchising, but like they've that's been way more successful than the other ones.
Mhm.
So I'm like,
Mhm.
again, kind of going back to what I said. If there's a gamble to make, I would have no problem gambling with Riot over the other ones who like show no success in the past of being able to do something like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, well, at
Yeah.
least going into like making it a little bit more of a fun question as our last one here, Garrett, because
Yeah.
we went through the tough ones here of like what's gonna happen with the department. I
This
don't
was
even
tough.
think it's I don't even think it's a fun question after all. I actually want to know, like, since we don't know what's going on here with the tier 2 scene and how Riot plans to build this up here for the tier 2 scene, and now, especially on top of that, the Knights don't have they don't move into the next stage of the partnership program, right? So you're sticking around with an academy team. We're hoping for the best for the tier 2 scene. What do you want to see out of this tier 2 scene from Riot if they want to build a path to pro?
From Riot. Well, based on what has been released publicly, like I believe, like again, we haven't seen the substance behind it, but overall, we know their intention. Okay, this is not some NDA stuff. We know their intention of they know they need a tier 2 scene to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay, now I believe in my heart of hearts that they will do as best they can in the tier 2 scene to keep it keep it going, keep it active. It just mainly comes down to the orgs and if they're gonna want to stay,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of them, it's we were one of those teams back in the day. We're like, oh, we didn't get in, bye, we're gone. Like, we don't need to waste any more money in this game. But we believe in the future where again we're staying. So I would say we know their intention. We believe it'll be fine. Our hope is that the organizations, whoever don't get into the partnership, that they don't just up and leave, because it just shows you their intention of like they never gave a shit about the game in the first place.
Mm.
It was just numbers on a spreadsheet, which don't
Well,
get me
I
wrong,
mean,
it's important. It's
yeah.
important. I want to make it important. It's important. Hell, we don't want to run out of money either.
Exactly, exactly that, right?
You need to do what's right for business. Okay, so
Ye-
if you don't, but we're hoping that you believe in the game, that you would stay in it for long term. Just maybe don't be so stupid with your money like these orgs have been.
Well, I mean, at the same time, it's justifiable for the other teams as well. I mean, even for me as a caster, I'm putting all my eggs in the bags to get to just cast Valorant right now. And if it doesn't work out, then I don't have like a plan B or a plan C. And sometimes you don't have that cash flow to come in anymore to continue what you want with your passion. And sometimes when you don't have, the necessary same funding as you do with, for example, the Knights or Cloud9 or TSM, it's harder to keep a money and a team afloat, especially when you have a team that has such a good potential of moving forward into the tier 1 scene. And eventually when it comes down to contract negotiations, those numbers are going up, but your cash flow isn't going up to follow that as well. It makes it a little bit tough. But
yeah, we have investors and
that's the thing. That's the thing.
We have to answer to them. Hell, I can't just be like, hey guys, we lost this much, $500,000. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's gonna be like that for all of the orgs that wants to stick around, right? But
yeah, there needs to be a plan.
It'll take a while. Exactly.
There needs to be a plan. We have our plan, so we believe that the tier 2 scene will be fine. It's just hopefully the other orgs will, some of them stay with us.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
We think it'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, Garrett, I think it passes over the time that you gave us here, so I appreciate you staying a little bit longer to chat with us. It's always a good time. to chat with you and to shoot the shit, and also because we have such a good friendship that I could just grill you and like try to dig deep.
Well, I'm sorry for dodging some of your questions, but like,
no,
I will give you credit. The way you worded some of those were very sneaky. I saw like you're talking about relegation. I'm like, I know where you're heading with this, and I'm not falling for it.
Well, hopefully here, Garrett, it continues well here for the Knights, and also for what the Knights has planned for staying involved with Valorant, and hopefully it continues on with the Tier 2 scene. So appreciate the time. Any final shout-outs?
Just let just fans know that we're still gonna be running events. We're still in the scene, so keep cheer for the ones that stay, boys.
And hopefully we cheer for the ones that come back.
Ladies, boys and ladies, come on now. You saw Heather. You saw Heather in that event.
Of course. And even Heather was mentioning, like, even the event itself had like
it was great,
like 30-40% in terms of like women being part of the crowd. So that's pretty awesome to see what we have.
If I can just pump that up for 1 second.
Yeah, please
go
ahead.
Go ahead. That's something that this is the only game that's actually put effort into a women's scene. That you have to give them credit, and that's significantly important because again, how big the women gamers, like the community actually is. It's just the only one that had before was like Counter-Strike had some events, over the last 20 years, but like there's been no real.
There's been one event a year. ESWC, that was it.
Yeah, there's no real like much support behind it, but Valorant has been doing it, so it's been awesome to see that. I only play a few games here and there, and every game I join is 2 or 3 women playing, and I'm like, all right, damn, there you go. Like, fucking, sorry, I'm part of my language, but like, it's just like,
Garrett, I've been swearing here.
It's great. That's why a big part of why you believe in this game is because it caters, like, everyone is in this game.
Yeah.
I'm swearing right now, and because we're swearing, we might not get monetized on YouTube, but at least we get monetization from Twitch because we're on the front page, and they help us out with building the show today as one of our main sponsors for today. So again, Garrett, big thank you for hanging out with us. Shout out to the Knights and for continuing these events for the Tier 2 scene. Hopefully, we're going to see something that's going to be moving forward here for the Knights with the Tier 2 scene with Riot, and of course, as Garrett just mentioned, big shout out to Riot for supporting the Game Changer scene with that.